The Spartus P1 hits harder than 90% of hybrids in my database, but it doesn't play like a typical power paddle. Where a lot of high output paddles can feel unpredictable, launching balls long on resets or making the soft game harder to dial in, the P1 delivers good pace without that volatility. After a ton of hours on this one, let's break down whether this controlled power approach actually works and who it's for. Full disclosure, Spartus sent me this paddle to test. No money changed hands, there was no guarantee of coverage, and these are my honest impressions. It retails for $220, but you can use code MPB to save some money, which also gives the channel a small kickback to keep content like this coming. The P1 uses an EPP foam core with an EVA foam perimeter ring. That combination creates the dense, compact response at contact instead of the hollow or overly dampened character you get from a lot of foam core builds. The EVA ring reinforces edge stability and maintains structure on off-center hits, while the EPP core delivers a firm, unified response across the face. There's no dead or collapsible section, even high in the hitting zone. The face uses Toray T700 carbon fiber and fiberglass with Spartus's Permagrit surface. This is a CFC layup, meaning carbon fiber sandwiched between fiberglass. This is not peel-ply carbon. It doesn't behave like traditional abrasive textures. Instead, it grabs. You feel it most on slower swing speeds where the ball just sticks to the face. When you rub your hand across it, it's tacky rather than sandpaper. It's not a sticky surface, it's unique, one of a kind. The vertical printed lines on the face are purely cosmetic. They don't affect spin, legality, or how the ball comes off. The P1 is USAP approved. What this construction is trying to do: deliver power that scales with your swing speed instead of giving you unpredictable trampoline response, keep surface grip high for spin generation, and maintain a stable platform that doesn't punish you when you're slightly off-center. My test unit came in at 8.22 ounces static weight, which is heavier than 87% of all other hybrid paddles in my database. Swing weight measured 116.7, which is 74% higher than all other hybrid shapes, and twist weight is 6.9, which is better than 80% of other hybrid paddles. Yes, this is heavier than average, particularly in swing weight. That added mass carries through the hitting zone and shows up in plow-through with a slight head-heavy bias. Serve speed tested at 60.4 miles per hour, higher than 90% of hybrid paddles in my database. Punch volley speed came in at 39.2 miles per hour, beating 82% of hybrids. Spin measured 2,349 RPM, topping 80% of the category. Firepower score came in at 79. It's clear that added mass translates to more offensive capabilities. The control score, which is a new beta metric I'm working on at mattspickleball.com, came in at 48. And a higher score indicates better maneuverability, forgiveness, and control. These are power tier numbers, and the P1 hits a heavy ball. But here's what matters: how that power actually delivers on court is completely different from paddles like the Loco or Boomstick that hit similar speeds. I started testing the P1 expecting typical power paddle behavior: big drives, harder to dial in resets, demanding touch game. First session flipped that assumption immediately. Serves that should clip the baseline, dip in. Drives aim just inside the line, pull down with topspin instead of sailing long. The contact experience is what sets this apart. When you drive the ball, you can feel it compress into the face before it releases. It's not extended dwell, but it's also not instant rebound. The paddle loads up, then lets go, smooth and controlled. That gives you time to feel the shot developing. As swing speed increases, the ball goes faster without sudden trampoline effect. The relationship between effort and outcome stays consistent. The P1 has a large sweet spot with distinct zones. Dead center plays softer and forgiving, maximum dwell and margin for error. Move an inch toward the edges and the response firms up slightly. You lose some pocketing but gain crispness. High in the face, it stays responsive without getting too boardy, which is unusual for a 16mm foam core at this weight. What I didn't expect is the lower part of the face still works. On some paddles, catching it too low gives you an empty thud and the ball just dies. The P1 keeps producing pace even an inch or two below center. Those EVA foam masses in the throat extend the usable zone. Catch it really low left or right and it dies pretty quickly, but marginally outside, still playable. At the net, punch volleys come off with force, but without that sharp crack that makes you worry about sailing long. In hand battles, the P1 responds quickly without launching balls unexpectedly, but for a hybrid shape, you do sacrifice some hand speed due to the weight. Compared to the Loco, pop is clearly lower but not weak. The benefit shows up in improved control on blocks and counters. When someone drives at you, the P1 redirects cleanly without adding energy you didn't ask for. Players who struggle with over-launching high-pop paddles will notice how much easier it is to keep the ball in play. Putting the ball away is where the weight becomes obvious, and this paddle comes through with authority. Contact is loud, a sharp, satisfying crack. Miss the sweet spot slightly and you'll still get some depth. Catch it clean and the ball drives down hard. Spin generation is one of, if not the P1's strongest attribute. The Permagrit surface creates high friction without overly aggressive abrasion. You feel it grab the ball on brush strokes, not sticky but grippy. Roll a topspin dink and you can see the ball rotate hard after the bounce. Spin stays effective even when you're not swinging hard, which isn't always true with other peel-ply surfaces. That makes shaping shots easier because you're not entirely dependent on swing speed. Will Permagrit last longer than standard peel-ply? That's the million-dollar question. I've scoured the Discords, the Reddits, and the forums, and players familiar with both the GT Beta 1.0 and the P1 have confirmed Permagrit's durability advantage. Permagrit is made from ceramic hybrids, uses no peel-ply resin, and is not particle-infused resin. It's a completely different material and process. I have about 55 solid hours in mine, and it's still very much intact. Not new, but much better than a standard peel-ply surface texture. Touch shots play stable when they're intentional. For example, a well-executed topspin third shot drip, and the trajectory is predictable. Dink cross court and you can place it. While this isn't a traditionally soft paddle, it's very playable in the soft game because oopsies are minimized. I just felt dialed in with this one. During extended dink rallies, each contact gives you clean information. You know if you caught it center or edge, if your paddle face was open or closed. Sound reinforces what you're feeling. On smashes, that loud crack. On dinks and resets, minimal vibration and quiet contact. For a hybrid shape, the P1 resists twisting well. At 6.9 twist weight means hit a counter 2 inches off center and the paddle face stays square. You lose some power, but the ball goes where you aimed it, generally speaking. It plays closer to wide body stability than its shape suggests. Despite a swing weight near 117, the P1 doesn't feel sluggish. Mass is distributed to keep it manageable rather than tip heavy. That said, this isn't a quick flick paddle. Players who rely on wristy flicks might find it heavy. Players who like to load up and drive will appreciate the momentum. The P1 responds well to added weight too. I tested with a 4-inch strip of half gram per inch weight on the lower corners, which brought twist weight up to around 7.3. Plow through on overheads improved, counter stability increased, and punch volley confidence went up. Because the base paddle already has strong structure, added weight feels like a refinement, not correction. Some players, like me, will love it stock. Others will want that extra stability. Either way works. The P1 currently ships in the hybrid shape only. Spartus has submitted elongated and standard wide-body versions for USAP approval through the similarity process. Those models are expected to be available mid-January 2026. Versus the Loco and J2NF, the P1 plays denser. Stiffness is comparable. I mean, they do share the same CFC layup. Control is similar too, except I think touch shots have a bit more bite, and the paddle itself is less pop forward. Close your eyes, bounce a ball off either paddle, and the differences aren't that big. Top-end power is slightly lower, but predictability and control at speed are higher. The Loco has more explosive punch volleys and faster counters, but it's also more volatile on resets. The P1 gives up a bit of that ceiling to gain consistency in the middle of the court. Versus the Duo, the P1 is firmer and more powerful, with higher pop and more aggressive shot shaping potential. Despite similarities in core concepts, these paddles don't play the same. The P1 is more linear and less hollow at contact. The Dual has a more extended dwell and a softer overall character. If you want to absorb pace and have a wider range in the touch game, the Duo works better. Versus the Valair shifts, these two share very similar performance numbers across the board: serve speed, spin, pop, but the major difference is feel. To be honest, the shifts are playing with my head for a 14mm paddle. I think they play plusher or more dwelly than the P1. The P1 doesn't have as dense a character. Don't expect the P1 to be a plush pillow. It's not that at all. And control and sweet spot are where I think the P1 has an edge over the shifts. The Spartus P1 Hybrid 16mm is best suited for players who want power that stays predictable, prefer controlled response over trampolined pop, value spin and surface grip. like a dense, solid contact feel. Players seeking maximum pop or ultra-fast hand speed will find it too measured. If you strictly need a lower weight paddle, the P1 likely won't be the right fit. Players who want more predictability under pressure will appreciate it. At $220, the P1 sits in premium territory alongside options like the Loco and high-end Gen 4 builds. That's expensive and approaching the premium tier category, but it's not there yet. However, I do think the build quality, consistency, experience playing it, and performance justify that price if you're in the target demographic. Here's the honest value assessment. If you want a power paddle that stays predictable with good all-around offensive and defensive capabilities, the P1 is an option worth looking at. If you want maximum power and pop or easy pace without much effort, or you don't think you can handle the on the higher end weight, you'll find better value elsewhere. If the Permagrit surface continues to hold up over time, and so far it has, the P1 stands out as one of the more balanced and disciplined power tier hybrids available. So that's it. That's the Spartus P1 review. It delivers serious power through a controlled response that doesn't punish you when the pressure picks up. Would you rather have a paddle that gives you maximum power with some unpredictability or controlled power that stays predictable? If this was helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.